taser gun. I know over on the coast there was an incident that was brought up, and yet the use of the taser gun was talked about briefly in the sheriff's race. How do you view the taser gun?
Boy, you're throwing out some questions I didn't expect. I understand from law enforcement there are those, in particular Don Miller, seem to be very positive on the taser. I've seen programs on the media that think that the taser is better than some other methods, safer than if they were to be ending up shooting the person. But it is certainly a controversial thing, because if you don't know what medications or the mental or physical health of is an individual that you're using the taser on, you can cause serious physical problems. And, of course, we've heard about deaths. And I have been involved in some cases where there have been prisoner deaths, not in the criminal sense, but in the civil sense. And so there's a great responsibility on the part of law enforcement and jail personnel to look out for the well-being of the people that they are interacting for. So that's a very important concern.
Again, it has to do with shocking the heart, I believe.
Yes.
If the taser is used too close to the heart, it can cause heart failure and a person can actually die.
Yes.
So there hasn't been any cases lately that has evolved around the taser gun that's been reported. But in your office, do you see any more of a heads up, or is there going to be in terms of the taser, or will you have discussions, or how do you think this is? It'll just kind of lay in wait, or in the new age of trying to create justice through nonviolence, basically? Is this a...
Well, I certainly, wherever we can use mediation efforts, wherever we can use nonviolent methods with the persons that the law enforcement are in connection with, I'm 100% in favor of that. But I don't see my role as district attorney to dictate to our police departments or to the sheriff's department what methods they're going to use. I think that's an issue that they have to thoroughly research. They need to work with their providers and so forth for education, and with county council as to where they're going to go. That's not my place.
So currently now you've had a meeting with Tom Allman. I happened to run into you the other day at the supervisors, and we had both talked to Tom Allman on Tuesday. He's a busy man. He's hard to talk to right now. He's got a lot on his plate because he has to learn all about his new position, as well as you'll have, if elected, you'll have to learn enormous. So did you have an agreement, or what sort of things do you think that will be separating both of you from coming with the strong understanding? Is there... In other words, the sheriff has a will towards interpreting the law, and you have your interpretation of the law. Then you have the incidences that take place within law enforcement. Did you come to any meetings of the mind, like on Prop 215, or?
Well, I'm hoping that Tom's listening. Thank you so much for opening your office doors so that we could have a chance to chat. He made it very clear, of course, that we were not going to discuss anything political, and he also mentioned to me that he considered that particular meeting to be confidential. Mm-hmm. So I'm certainly not going to violate. I didn't know this would come up tonight, but you just happen to know since we saw each other
right, it was
in the
just
same locale.
We just happened to be at the supervisor.
But no, as I've said from the beginning, and as I've told Tom Allman, I'm ready and able and looking forward to working with Tom Allman, as well as with the other law enforcement chiefs and officers throughout the county. I think that's extremely important. And if there are differences, I am confident that we will put the cards on the table, put our rationale and our reasons on the table, and work towards solutions and directions that will benefit the citizens of Mendocino County.
Because what I've been working on and trying to track is and in particular is the supervisors and their actions in and around policy that is brought to the board and then passed on to the sheriff's department to be looked at, and they just came up with their policies in and around medical marijuana dispensaries, the taxation. They have a whole list for the protocol that was put together by Supervisor Hellwagon before he left office in agreement with the rest of the supervisors. And so I thought I'd throw a little bit of that. I showed you briefly that list the other day. One of them was taxation. Did you think that was pie in the sky still on the taxation of marijuana?
Well, certainly taxation, we can use that in this county. But I think what is important to know is that this is something on the table. This is something that all the stakeholders need to be involved with. They need to give their input. As far as I know, there's been no adoption of any new ordinances. Am I mistaken on that? I thought we were in discussion phases.
It's all discussion.
That's
absolutely,
right.
absolutely.
So I think this is a very positive step. I think this is very, very important for the medical marijuana providers as well as their patients. The caregivers and patients need clarity. I think that they are asking for that, so they need to participate and work with the Board of Supervisors. And I need to take a quick moment because it's been brought to my attention that some of the persons involved as caregivers or perhaps people that are interested in the issue of marijuana have heard a rumor or purportedly I have made statements that I want to go to state levels of the amount of marijuana that can be grown, and I want to take this opportunity to say that I have never stated that, and if what I have stated at different debates has been interpreted in such a fashion, that is absolutely not my view. I am not looking to change what we have in place now. What I'm looking to do is to enforce what we have in place now and help provide clarity so people know where they stand so that they can, not have that stress of worry.
Well, when Norm Broman came to Willits, the Willits City Council invited him to come up and give a speech on information declaration on what they should do about the backyard grow situation in the town of Willits. And he suggested that they come up with their rules and enforce them. And he'll agree or disagree in the sense that he didn't have all of the information in front of him that would give them guidelines. And now the city of Willits has come up with a 10 by 10, 10 feet by 10 feet, and they're thinking of putting a vent on it. Ventilation on these rooms, have you been following that at all, this back and forth with the cities and the county?
Yes, absolutely. I did quite a bit of precinct walking in the last two elections and have met citizens of Willits as well as in Ukiah, and they have valid concerns, and I think that their city councils have sought to sort of do that neighborhood mediation. I mean, at one time it might be that chickens were allowed in town, and now they don't want them in town anymore. And so that's sort of what the cities are looking at. They're trying to provide a way that the members of the communities can live and work together and that they can look at the safety of the communities, and I think that's a good thing.
So that was also on the supervisor's policy for the upcoming year, was trying to work out some sort of overall policy because the county borders up to the city, so the county has to more or less have some equal justice, you might say, to the cities. That's one reason I brought that up, is that what about the dispensaries? Everybody talks about dispensaries, and yet there are no dispensaries that I know of currently. In fact, that's one thing that I've been trying to track, is whether there are any dispensaries that, do you know of any dispensaries that are existing? Have you heard of any? Or
I have not, and I would think that that's a real thorny issue.
It is,
because as we know, federal law is different than state law, and we know, looking at Santa Cruz, that they have come in, and in San Francisco and different places. So I don't think that anybody in this county is looking to have the federal government come in. We want to keep things in such a fashion that
so if
people can follow what we've enacted in our county locally as well as our state California law.
So then the allowing dispensaries to exist